Hello everyone and Happy New Year. I thought I'd kick off 2023 by discussing a little crankcase breather modification that I do on some of my tuned and fairly ordinary Royal Enfield Bullet engines, which might be of interest to some. This sort of came about having seen a set of pre-1955 350 Redditch Bullet crankcases, and it involves this here. That's the hole where the stud screws into that holds the tappet cover on, and on most engines, certainly since the 1955 and earlier British 350 engines, that hole is a blind hole. It just goes in so far and that's it. But on the earlier engines, the 350s, the hole comes through into the crankcase here, like I've done with this. So what I've done is I've drilled through, I've taken the stud out and I've drilled through to break through into this side, and I've also countersunk the hole there, which sort of gives a increased sort of pickup area, if you like, for any gases that, or whatever that might want to breathe out. There's the part that fits closely or even quite tightly to the cylinder liner when the barrel is fitted, and we've got a larger radius there, so we've got all that area there could allow the crankcase to sort of breathe, and that hole can pick up any gases or whatever under pressure and let them out. So we got that hole, and incidentally I used, I think it was a 6mm drill bit. You use 6mm or a quarter, anything like that. The hole, depending on the year and model of your bike, will either be 5/16 of an inch or 8mm. And 6mm goes in and it doesn't harm the threads as it goes in and through, and it's big enough for what we need to do. What else can I say? The trick to make this usable lies in this here, and this is the stud that screws in to fasten the tappet cover on with. And what I've done is I've drilled long ways through it, part way, and then I've got a cross drill in there, so when that's screwed in, it allows the crankcase, any gas or anything else in the crankcase, air or whatever under pressure, the crankcase can communicate with this part here, and also via those oil holes into the timing case, and obviously via the push rod tunnels up into the cylinder head and the rocker area. But okay, we got the crankcase able to breathe into here, but where do we go from there? Well, what I do, and have done in numerous cases, is drilled a hole in a rocker cover. Usually the inlet rocker cover is a good one, because it's to the rear of the engine and to the bike, and it's a tidier location to run a pipe from. Get a tyre inner tube valve stem, remove the core, and you drill a hole in the rocker cover in a suitable place. You've got to watch that you don't sort of drill a hole above one of the rockers or the valves, but there's usually quite a bit of room where you can put it, and push it in from underneath. The course, got a little bit of rubber from the inner tube left there, that'll make a good seal, and then you can use the gland nut and the washer from the inner tube to fasten it in place in the rocker cover like that, and just lead a neat little pipe off it somewhere. It'll disappear under the fuel tank and seat and whatever, you barely see it or know it was there, and that communicates right back to the crankcase. Now you can use it in conjunction with whatever breather arrangement you've got on your engine anyway, and they can vary quite a bit. On this engine, I think it's the other crankcase that's got it, but yeah, it's the drive side case, but there's actually a hole round about here drilled through from the crankcase compartment into the top of the oil tank, and this is one of those engines where there's a breather coming out from the top of the oil tank. So now what you got is just an extra way of, if you like, equalizing any pressure that might be generated inside the engine, or a route for any extra breathing to go out from. Should you decide that you don't want it for whatever reason after doing it, it's quite easy to close it off just by getting another one of these studs as they come, obviously undrilled, screw it in there, close it off, and that's it. It's all back as it was before. And obviously your rocker cover, the hole, you could either get it alloy welded up and close it off if you've got access to someone with alloy welding, or you can do it yourself, or just simply put a short nut and bolt in there with some washers and close it off, and or of course change the rocker cover for another one. They don't cost the earth, and that's it, all reverted back to normal. But I've got that there now. Should I wish to use it, or should the owner want it, as I had to strip the engine right down to get the crank out, and even split the flywheels and so on to get at the big end, and in the case of this one, we're going to be fitting a forged steel conrod and roller big end. This is Hasbro number 50, by the way. Everything's ready to go back together now, and either I can choose or the owner can choose whether he wants this, and whether he wants me to drill the rocker cover and fit this little valve stem outlet for it, or just fit another one of these and forget about it. But it's there, and I've used that on quite a few engines now, and it's a good little location for an auxiliary breather, you know, should it be needed. I'm not advocating that you should drill that in situ on a complete running engine, as you probably would get some swarf go inside and drop into the crankcase, which is not a really good thing to do, but that's up to the individual. While the engine's in bits like this, it's an open invitation to do it, so that's what I've done. And here I am giving all my tricks away. There's another one. I'm going to stop there now and just let it be known that I'm actually nearing completing a book I've been writing. It's only taken me about 15 years, but I finally got my finger out, and there'll be all sorts of stuff about the Royal Enfield Bullet engines and tuning them, as well as all sorts of other bikes. Lots of little dodges like this will be in it as well, and stories of bikes I've had and ridden over the years and so on. So I've got to crack on with that and hopefully have that ready soon. But this is Hasbro number 50. Get the engine together soon now, and hopefully it won't be too long before we'll be going for a ride on finished work, and we'll have a bit of room for the next one. But it's nice actually that number 50 is going to be a bit of a special one. They're all special, but the owner has sort of pushed the boat out a little bit on this one, which is nice that it ties in with the landmark number. So I'm going to crack on with it, and we'll have this back together and running in the very near future, all being well.